We make ourselves free by the choices we make.
The accused is guilty of all charges, and he will hang for what he did.
You cannot ignore federal law!
I just did.
The plan is dangerous.
Everything we do is dangerous.
This rescue gonna be the toughest thing you ever done.
Arise like fire out of the dark.
To be the most notorious slave catcher,
Into the light.
one would think you'd have caught the most notorious runaway. Harriet Tubman. The Lord sent you to me to get your family back.
How about you? Where you going when you free?
I ain't about a place no more.
My arms are mighty tired, and I want to end this quick.
We got 3 runaways. You want to pay us for 1?
You ain't got nothing yet. Wanna be the masses, bitch? You go on ahead, but leave me out of it.
We do all agree that war is inevitable.
We just need to be ready when our friends get here.
All I know is they call her the Black Rose.
I know who she is.
You gotta trust your instincts and make your eyes blink wider. Make your heart beat faster. Because it's the only thing that's gonna save your life. Run! Ain't nothing great ever happened based on fear or sense. You gotta be desperate and insane.
Underground, season premiere, Wednesday, March 8th on WGN America.
Thank you so much. Can we have another round of applause, please? Wow. What's up, y'all? How are you guys?
Thank you for that warm welcoming.
The welcome?
Well, you know, I'm tired, y'all. I'm a mom.
welcome?
Seriously,
You know,
congratulations, 4 months.
Thank you.
Wow. That deserves the biggest round of applause of them all. We were just talking behind stage, and your baby has been on so many different flights.
Yeah,
Hunter's doing really well, huh?
He's been on 12 flights, and he's only 4 months. Yeah, you know, breaking it up. Yeah.
Getting the miles in early.
Yeah.
A little of a jet setter.
Yeah.
So 2015, when you guys signed on to this, did you think that there'd be a second season on a series on the Underground Railroad?
Felt hopeful about it because it was just good content. You know, we just needed the audience to back us up, which they did, and we're ever grateful, man. But we knew that we were working with a monster team, so you know, we hoped and we believed in our people, and you know, but it is a surprise, and we're still, you know, very shocked by the support we still get. It's crazy.
And it's funny you saying believe in our people. You know, WGN is also working on another series on Black Wall Street. It seems like WGN is just taking these risks, but they keep hitting.
Yeah, you know, I think they want to push the needle, you know, and just provide creative content that people are hungry to see, you know, and I think that's what people responded to so well with Underground. It was, you know, a show unlike any other show we've ever seen before. Not just this historical period drama, but it, you know, really takes history off the museum walls and places it into your living rooms in a way that you can relate to. And it's urgent and bold, and, you know, we're telling the story of the resistors, those who revolted. And so I think, you know, they have this mandate, you know, to be bold. So kudos to them, because no one else really believed in the show. Like, Misha and Joe took it around, pitching it
For several years.
Yeah, for several years, and everyone said no.
Yeah.
And it's, I mean, the reviews from the first season were kind of framing it as like an Ocean's 11, but to the Underground Railroad. But the interesting point is, how do you still inject so much entertainment in something that is still very serious?
Because we don't have to try. It just was an entertaining and exciting time. You know, we are talking about one of the biggest adventures that has not been told in American history. You know, they really pull the stories from narratives from enslaved people, some who made it to freedom, some who didn't. But they also understand they understand how to get the content right and give you the message without beating it into your head, without trying to force it down your throat. And I think it's done well because they expose the mindset of all these different characters and let you see how these people think and how they live, as opposed to telling you, they're giving you the experience. And that's really on our creators, Misha and Joe. And then by the direction and the vision of Anthony Hemingway, that boy is fire, you know?
And I love how your character is the ringleader, but still has to make all of these really, really tough decisions and ends up getting recaptured. Talk about what we have to see for season 2.
I'm still in jail.
Come a long way, but...
Well, I'm not going to give out all the cookies because y'all going to see tomorrow. You're going to have to wait a few more hours. But I will say this. His mindset is different. You know, the first season, I think it was... in his perspective of his value was still sequestered to his means, his surroundings, and how they define his value. I need to be free just by getting to a place. And as you see, he says it's not about a place anymore because he was introduced to love through Rosalie. So now his idea of freedom is love, and love is bigger than freedom. And then also his idea of himself as a man in this world, it doesn't matter if he's physically in change, he's still free up here, you know, which a lot of us still kind of fight today in terms of where we're at. You know, doesn't matter where you're at. You got to be free here to get to where you want to be.
Because we're still dealing with it.
Yeah. Still, you know, culturally, we're still dealing with trying to find our value and walk in our value. A lot of times we look for that affirmation from other places, jobs, things, other people's opinions. But really, at the end of the day, it's just got to come from you. And this is, I think, what this culture, when I say this culture, I'm talking about the enslaved Americans. This is what they fought for and fought through for a long, long time. How do we see ourselves as valuable when the world is telling us we're not?
And just, Rosalie, as you play Rosalie, the really interesting part is that, especially by black men as well, we always tend to forget the achievements and how black women are the backbone. And that you were playing with Aisha Hines, who's playing as Harriet Tubman. Talk about breathing life into Rosalie. Talk about being in the house, but still getting blood in your hands and still having to make the same decisions, sometimes harder than everyone else is making because you are, in fact, a black woman.
Yeah, you know, listen, black women, women in general, but particularly black women, have always been on the front lines of change, okay? So, you know, I think that's one thing that we explore so well in the show is how we were really, you know, forcing this movement along. Yeah, you know, Rosalie in season 1 definitely starts off one way in the house, so oppressed, you know, living under this oppression of this man who, you know, biologically is her dad, but not at all in, you know, only in name. And, you know, she doesn't belong in the house, she doesn't belong in the field, and yet there's this yearning for her. She's never stepped outside this whole plantation, but she knows that there's a better life out there, and cannot accept this idea that her mom believes in, that, you know, we just have to settle for this. And, you know, because that's just existing, you know, like she still has that dream, that ambition, that desire for something more. And yeah, you know, to your point, it's so true. Living in the house was just as oppressive anywhere on the plantation, because, you know, you never get a moment to yourself. But what I love so much is the transition that Rosalie goes through in season 1, how she really finds this strength. By the end of season 1, really becomes a leader. Going into season 2, she's a soldier. And they nicknamed her the Black Rose. And even though she's attained her own freedom, she realizes that freedom ain't so free. You know, living in the North is, for one, not safe. And then 2, she can't live with the burden of having lost every single person that she loves. Noah, the Macon 7, her mother, her brothers. And so carrying that burden, she decides to go back. And that's when she meets up with Harriet Tubman.
Talk to me about the citizen versus the soldier theme that's going to be prevalent through all of season 2.
You talking about in the show, or are you talking about in real life?
We can go anywhere you want.
Yeah, I know what you mean. I know what you mean.
Yeah.
But it's just so fitting.
Especially in today's times, right?
Well, yeah, I think a theme the storytellers are exploring in season 2 is that idea of citizen versus soldier. Where do you stand in the battle? Because we all are capable of just living in our comfort zones when an issue doesn't affect us, right? So you have the abolitionists in the North where you can argue the issue really didn't affect them, but it affected their conscience, it affected their values, their morals.
And in fact, they stood to benefit from the issue continuing.
Yeah, and so what choice do you decide to make? Are you going to become a bystander and watch the war being waged, or are you going to get up and pick up the fight and become a soldier?
It's like, are you really about it?
Yeah, because, and we can ask ourselves nowadays, obviously, with so many issues that affect us, and then so many issues that don't affect us, that affect, our Muslim brothers and sisters, our LGBT brothers and sisters. Where are we going to stand in these battles? Where's history going to say we stood? You want to be standing on the right side of history.
And where's your place in that history?
And because Harriet and Rosalie and Noah didn't just have Twitter to just tweet about this, but I'd actually show up to the protest.
No, and here's the thing, they put their life on the line. That's what we cannot forget. This is their life that's at stake, at risk. And so, for us, we're not even asked nowadays to risk our lives. We're just asked to participate, be engaged.
Just to show up.
Just to show up, man.
Look, they were a walking protest just because of how they looked, just because they wanted dreams, just because of what they wanted to aspire to do, to be more than just a tool or cattle or treated as such. Today, even though we don't think it's as dire, to a degree it is, because look at where we are right now, having the battles and the fights that we still have politically and culturally. People have woken up to participating in their political future because they see how bad it can get when you do not participate. They had no choice but to participate back in the 1850s. And I feel like regardless of the comforts we think we have, we still don't have a choice but to participate today.
I also believe that a lot of it has to do with education. And like what I was talking about before, like you breathe life into these characters, this traditional slave narrative, because in high school we're taught one version.
Well, I'll give you this. As I've learned, growing up in history was my least favorite subject, because I used to always say, I'm 8 years old, 7 years old. Where are all the black people at? Where they at? I know they were here, But history, as I've said a few times before, has been manicured for agendas. We're not given the real pure history. That's why when people say, why another slave narrative? It's because they don't know everything about it. They don't know what we have to be proud of or where we come from, where our strength is as Americans. Why people say, this is African-American history. No, it's not. It's American history, because all of us benefit from the contribution of the enslaved community. And then there again, that's another thing. They're the enslaved, you know what I mean? Because they didn't take ownership of being slaves. They're enslaved because somebody did this to them. Americans enslaved other Americans. And when we start to understand the history, we get to see who contributed and how they contributed to where we are today. Then we get to appreciate these cultures, and then we get to understand why we must open up to integrating and being more accepting of different cultures, different practices, different creeds, because that's what built this country.
Because then you get to unpack those narratives and unpack those stereotypes and really breathe life and change into the way that people are interacting with each other. Talk to me about some of the books that you read in order to, get yourselves essentially hip to what was going on back at the time to play these characters correctly.
Yeah, there's amazing literature out there, and I think we all try to just digest it and inhale it. Going back to books like The Bullwhip Days, which is a collection of writings from men and women who were enslaved. Reading first-person accounts of what it was like to be an enslaved man or woman really gives you a different perspective than just ordinary history books. And I know for me, that was what my main goal was, I want Rosalie to be alive, to be flesh and blood. And, what was it like to actually live as a young woman with dreams, desires, ambitions in 1857? And so that book, honestly, was like my Bible. And then there's so many amazing documentaries, you know, like we all watched Many Rivers to Cross, Henry Louis Gates, like, you know, that man is just phenomenal, the contributions that he makes to our society. But, you know, I think for us, again, it was really about making these men and women alive instead of making them victims or making them historical figures.
So, as I mentioned, Aisha Hines will be playing Harriet Tubman. We have John Legend as Frederick Douglass.
Yes. Did you see the picture?
Yes. Can you talk about that? Like, he is executive producing the show, but decided to come in front of the camera instead of just being in the boardroom behind the camera. Did you get to get any scenes with him? Let's talk about that a bit.
I think didn't John have to audition for himself? Is that what happened? I think.
Maybe. Like, was he on both sides of the
He auditioned. He put himself on tape, then he watched back the tape. He was like, nah, you need a call back. So then he went back.
I can only imagine that criticism.
Yeah. I don't know. I think it was probably like predestined for him just because he grew up. He's a historian, you know, naturally an activist. He kind of sits in the same, walks in the same steps as Frederick Douglass. So it just seemed, you know, the natural path. You know, there's a reason he chose to come on board and executive produce this project. But so I can't tell you who worked or how they worked with him. I can't give you those, but I'm just saying you saw the picture, you know.
Cato was there in the picture.
Cato was there. So. We can tell you Cato.
Cato, man.
Yes.
Cato.
I love the dynamic between you and Cato.
I do too. It's so intense. So much tension.
You're going to get a very different side of that dynamic this season for sure.
And it's a little of a love triangle, a little bit. Cato's, he seems to love you too.
No? Dare you?
Absolutely not.
Dare you?
Unless you know something I don't know.
We need to talk to Misha and Joe.
Yeah.
Some of the things I was reading was they were talking about when he saw you playing the piano. There was...
Yeah, so I get it, because some people saw that and they were like, what's going on with Cato?
Heart. She did.
Yeah.
Like, is Cato trying to...
She did, you know, but that's just the power of Rosalie.
Really? I'm sorry, you left a little dust on your shoulder.
Thank you.
You know, a little something.
So talk about, his role is really amazing, going from the overseer to just, and you never know what side he's going to take. And I feel like that's like, there were so many twists and turns. And actually, I want to talk about Amira Vaughn that was going to be on here today, but she's not here. She plays your mother. Right. And just how powerful her character was.
Oh my gosh. First of all, can we give a round of applause for Amira Vaughn? She's so outstanding. You know, I think not only does she do such a tremendous job in just showing the different layers of who we are as Black women, all of our different hues, our complexities, our flaws, our passions, our loves for our children, you know. But I think Misha and Joe, again, do such an incredible job at, you know, telling the shades of gray that, you know, people in our show are not black or white. It's the shades of gray that we explore. Not everyone's all good and not everyone's all bad. We are all capable, as we are in real life, of very questionable things. Just like with Cato, you know, who Alano kills. He does such a great job at playing Cato. But again, it's like you love him and you hate him. And you're like, man, you killed Theo. Like, how'd you do that? You know, but he's Zeke. I called him Theo.
Shot Zeke in the leg.
Killed Zeke.
I still miss Zeke. Zeke
I know,
was awesome.
me too. I miss our Macon 7.
Especially his roles with Boo. The cast they played, that was really, really sweet.
Yeah, no, I miss our.
That's the thing about this show. You don't want to get too close to anybody. Next week they might be dead. You just don't know.
Or even like with Ben. Are we going to see Ben this season?
I mean, that's
you asking for secrets.
Yeah.
We can't give you those secrets.
I mean, I was a fan. I'm a fan. I'm just trying to.
Saying. We ain't giving it. Y'all get tomorrow. You got a few hours.
No, tomorrow's gonna shock you enough. Okay, so we can't. Just prepare yourself for tomorrow.
Y'all not ready for that ending.
We'll get
I'm just
to
saying.
Next week. Like, we gotta take it 1 week at a time.
Yeah.
So let's talk about the music. John Legend, of course, is executive producing it. The show opens with Black Skinhead, you running through the woods. And I think I was telling you before, I love the way that they juxtapose like contemporary music with the antebellum South. It kind of elevates the narrative a bit.
It makes it urgent, right?
Yes, yes. It's like, what is behind that? Like, what was behind, I'm not sure if you may know this, but behind this idea to, let's put some, traditional, today's hip hop into it.
So I think the idea, Black Skinhead was written into the original script. That was a choice from day one. I think for me, the idea as I receive it as an audience member watching is that it ties what we feel and what we know now and makes it a little bit more modern, and we can connect to it a little bit better. Music is almost like the heartbeat of any production. When you hear something that familiar, when you hear something that aggressive, when you hear something that, even if it's just a lovely, sweet melody that and you understand it today, but then you tie it back to what's going on then, you subliminally recognize the symmetry. You're like, wow, I'm brought into this. I recognize this music, it feels, but it ties so well to this. Why is that? Why are there so many similarities? Why does it connect so well? Because, the art reflects the times. Music is so emotional, so personal, so connective, and they understand how to tell story through music. There's a younger audience out here that doesn't necessarily know why they need to connect to this. But when they hear that and they feel it and they get it, they're like, wait, I never even knew. I understand this a completely different way. But the music also adds so much fun and, like she says, so much urgency. This is an action drama, and we need that heat. We need that pop just so people can understand exactly what it is we're doing. And by the way, y'all may not know this, but there's a cat, his name is Josiah Bell, who happens to be Jurnee's husband. That's my boy. You hear him every single episode. He's on track. He's a dope singer, dope producer, and he actually has music. He's got some work on the show, and you hear him in the title track. You hear his voice singing on there. So hopefully you'll get to hear a lot more of him in seasons to come. But check him out. I'm just saying, got to plug my boy.
I love how, okay. I love it. I love it, because he and Josiah are like best friends now. Like, they're like boys. And
yeah, he's awesome.
He's incredible.
This is an awesome family, straight up.
Your brother also played a couple episodes too, keeping it all in the family.
Yeah,
I know. And what's funny is, like, Josiah, lending music or Jussie being in the show had absolutely nothing to do with me.
Seriously.
Like, I should be able to take credit for this stuff, right? Like, get some extra gifts at Christmas or something, but no, it wasn't even me.
You know what? I love black nepotism in Hollywood.
I know. Me too. I have a big family. Trust me, I love nepotism. But I didn't do it, so I can't take credit. It was actually Anthony Hemingway. He had seen Josiah perform, and like, y'all said for music, like, it was everyone else but me said Joe's music should be a part of it. And then with Jussie, it was Anthony Hemingway also, who had directed a few episodes of Empire, and was like, what, we got to get Jussie to play this role, and Jussie killed it. He completely disappeared into that role, was not Jamal at all, right?
So will your son play
Hunter?
Yeah.
Huh?
Well, Hunter, let's bring it all in.
You still
everybody
fishing,
in.
Ain't you? You still fishing for the sequel.
Oh, so wait, there is Hunter does play in season.
I'm just saying,
Okay, cool.
You just, So I'm just saying, is there in season finale, what exactly happened? I'm saying, do y'all make it? Are you alive? We don't know.
We don't know that.
Aldis, congratulations on the SAG Award, by the way.
Yes.
For Hidden Figures.
Thank you.
And we're still not in a post-Oscar so white world. It's still pretty damn white, but Get Out goes #1 a couple weeks ago.
Yeah.
Underground has a second season. We have Mahershala Ali winning Best Supporting Actor.
By the way, first Muslim.
Yes, first Muslim win. Best. Yes.
Everything happens when it needs to. I don't think that's an accident. You know what I'm saying?
You would think it was like written out in a script, right? And how amazing is it to be black in Hollywood right now?
It's fantastic, man. I think Hollywood, the results in Hollywood are cyclical in nature. A lot of times you see it go in waves where it's like, all right, you got a lot of great cultures, really coming to the forefront, and then it dies down. And then Hollywood wakes up again, and then it dies down. Yeah. We're looking for it to stay this time. This was a fantastic year, definitely a fantastic year for the Oscars, and I'm happy because the recognition went to where it was supposed to go, and that shouldn't have to concern color or creed or religion. It's just good art is good art, and it needs to be recognized all over. Now, for me, real progress is not just one effort, it's continued efforts. So we need to see this continued year after year after year. Mm-hmm. And that's when we can start clapping and say, yay. But right now we have a good start, that's cool, but just being honest and real, we need to see continued efforts. Because it's not like all these years before we haven't seen great work put out by other cultures and other colors. And you know what I'm saying? It's just where's the recognition? The question is not even where's the recognition, why is there no recognition? That needs to be answered and addressed in an honest way.
We still have a long ways to go, especially when we live in an industry where women of color, are still not getting jobs as directors enough. There are not enough writers. Our stories have to be told. And so we had a good year. We had a good year, y'all. So,
we had a good year, but don't get too happy.
Let's have a good 5 years. Let's have a good 10 years.
Let's have a good forever.
Yes.
Because look, I'm not patting nobody on the back right now. I'm saying, look, yeah, but don't get a pat on the back for what you're supposed to do.
Yeah.
It's like you go to school and you get good grades. Yay. No, that's what you're supposed to do for you.
Sound like my dad.
We're supposed to recognize.
I was like, wait, am I supposed to be that way?
I'm just saying.
Good grades.
Yeah.
Bravo.
Yay. Yeah. Good grades. But it's you're supposed to do well for yourself, right? We have a responsibility as artists and within the voting committees to recognize good art. When we're not doing it, we can't get congratulated for doing it because that's the job initially. You know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. That's what you're supposed to do. So we just have to continue to do it, and hopefully it becomes the normalcy as opposed to the exotic choice.
And a lot of this is shot in New Orleans. And 20 years since Eve's Bayou. Yeah, congratulations.
Wow.
Yeah.
Congratulations. Samuel L. Jackson was here yesterday, actually.
Oh, I know. I was texting with LaTanya.
Talk to me about the impact of that role and kind of how it just set you on this path to where you are today.
I think it was the first time I realized this is what I wanted to do for the rest of my life. And it was a specific scene with Sam. My mom was my acting coach. Casey is a goddess, as a director. And they were really working on me, and we did a lot of rehearsals and stuff to get me to understand the internal workings of Eve. But it was the first time that I was able to think as my character. In this scene with Sam where I'm talking to him and, we're like, I think I'm asking him why he never dances with me or something like that. And I hugged him and then, my face dropped. And it was the first time, as an actor, I was able to think like my character. And that's the trick in what we do, is trying to, almost hypnotize yourself so much where you can think and operate as the character. And in that moment, there's this real stimulation that happens when you're able to lose yourself in your character. And I realized for sure that this is what I love and what I wanted to do for the rest of my life.
We have some audience questions, but really quickly before we get to them, I remember seeing you in an interview talk about how you learned about yourself from that character and through the other roles. What has Rosalie taught you about yourself?
Oh my gosh, so much. Yeah, I feel like characters come to me, I was saying this last night, that, they oftentimes align with something in my life. Their struggle or something that they're trying to explore lines up with mine, and it's interesting. When Rosalie came to me, I had just lost my dad 2 months prior to that.
Sorry to hear that.
And I was in this space a lot about identity, my dad's side of the family I don't really know. And then my mom's side of the family, you know, I'm super close with, but I don't, you know, like our history kind of stops because she's from New Orleans and obviously our ancestors were enslaved. And so I was in this real space about family and identity and exploring all that stuff. And with Rosalie, you know, I think she's taught me so much about being a woman, you know, and owning your voice and owning it in spite of how society tries to define you. Because if in 1858, if she could be as bold to stand up in her own soil and say, no, this is who I am, in spite of who you define me as being, then dang it, I got no excuse in 2017.
No excuse.
Really.
Can we ask some audience questions? Hi.
Hello. Hi.
How you doing?
Hi.
My name is Taylor Tucker. I'm a senior studying industrial engineering at North Carolina A&T State University. Quick shout out.
Hey.
My question is, recently I know Chance the Rapper just had this presentation of $1 million to Chicago Public Schools. I'm from Chicago. And so I was wondering, what are you all's passion projects in the community and kind of what are your efforts to do something to help them?
Okay.
Yeah, you know, that's one thing. Like, my mom has had us involved in nonprofit work since I was like a young kid because she met my dad in the movement in the 70s, you know, in the civil, they were working in Oakland. And so we've always either volunteered or been on the board. When I was like 12, I got involved with this organization called Artists from New South Africa. And HIV/AIDS is definitely a passion of mine, you know, and like I've gone all around the world, like speaking and doing peer education about it. And then, you know, a few years ago, I got involved with the Children's Defense Fund, which was founded by the legendary Marion Wright Edelman. And I'm so proud to be a part of this organization because Marion does the quiet work that nobody sees. Like, she actually affects children's lives here in this nation. Like, she's taken me to the White House and we've lobbied on Congress and I've seen her beat up on really powerful politicians and tell them, you're not doing enough for children and you're not covering them with health care, and this needs to happen and that needs to happen. I've seen the children's lives who have been affected by the work that the CDF does in, you know, sending them off to college and mentoring them. And, you know, the nonprofit world is tricky because you can donate so much money, right? But really your time is so much more valuable. We need the money still, so people still need to donate, and you know. But to watch the amount of time that this woman has devoted, she's devoted her entire being, her entire life to children, and I mean, she inspires me so much every single day because she doesn't stop, she doesn't quit. And we got a lot of work to do now with this new administration because
especially because Chance set the bar so high.
Well, I love when people like him, you know, do stuff like that because one thing he did was not just donate money. He called other people to action and said, I want some other corporations to do the same. So I'm interested in seeing who else gonna step up to the plate because we know some millionaires out there, you know.
And I currently work with Dr. Natoki Ford. She started an initiative called Image of STEM at the White House. She was a senior policy advisor to the Office of Science and Tech Policy at the White House during the Obama administration. PhD out of Harvard, trained biomedical scientist. I'm a micromechanical engineer, so, you know, we got the whole STEM thing going. STEM, science, technology, engineering, mathematics. STEAM is science, technology, engineering, arts, and mathematics. But coming off of the heat from Hidden Figures, we saw this resurgence in support for little girls in technology and engineering, so we just kind of ran with it. And a lot of people were, you know, buying out theaters for the girls to go see it. We do panels where all these girls are now getting this new light and seeing themselves in different ways to be more. And for those who already have the dream, they're seeing that they can actually go follow that dream. So what she started is an initiative to continue to charge Hollywood with showing figures, female figures in these arts and in these positions of engineering and showing them in more educated, more powerful positions so girls can see the representation because you have to see it to know it sometimes. And then also outside of just entertainment, charging people to raise money, to put into education, to put into these STEM affiliate positions because there's like over 600,000 unfulfilled STEM positions. These jobs out here just waiting for people. And a lot of people don't know it because they don't have access to the knowledge. You know, but we sitting here and people talking about, I ain't got a job. Bruh, go take a couple courses, a few months, you good. Go be a coder. You know what I mean? So we're just trying to get the word out, trying to put money up so people can get access to it, and just trying to get people back on track to understanding their value intellectually and what they can really do and how much they can do for themselves and for those around them through STEM and STEAM.
Yeah, and we have one more question.
Thank you. Congratulations on a great first season.
Thank you.
Thank you.
One of the things I love about the show is how inspiring it is to watch the characters struggle, persevere, rise up, strategize. And that's a story we haven't really seen, you know, with the slave narrative. Can you talk to me about how you're able to capture that passion and that spirit? Because it just radiates through the screen when you watch it.
It's all honesty, brother. Just really trying to be honest to what's on the page, honest to these people and what they're going through. And then tapping into the strength and the belief of where we come from and you know, the strength that we are afforded as a privilege to have, the freedoms and the liberties we're afforded to have and not taking it for granted. But when it comes to these people, it's simply, it's as simple of an execution as I have dreams, someone's trying to stop me. I have belief in myself, someone's trying to convince me otherwise. I know my value, someone's telling me that I'm not valuable. I think a lot of us today can connect to that in different ways. It may be not the same way as physically being in chains or physically being beat or whipped, but we still deal with it. You know, racism is not dead, it's only evolved. Bigotry is not dead. Enslavement is not even dead. It's only evolved into the prison system. Like, we deal with it on a regular basis, so all you have to do is just look at the obvious. A lot of times we're taught culturally and through media to not look at the obvious or to look at things differently than as they are. You know, I'm not saying the media is wrong. No, I'm not saying that. But, you know, social media, a lot of times we're, oh, this is your life when it's really not. You know, oh, you know him, y'all got these relationships when you really don't. Be honest with yourself. But when you look at what the situation really is, you can understand where the problem is and how to change it, how to really fix it, but you got to deal with yourself, you know?
Yeah, and you know, the storytellers, Joe and Misha, often say truth is stranger than fiction. You know, a lot of what is written, you know, actually happened, or, you know, our characters are like composite characters and stuff, and then some is fictionalized. But the fact of the matter is, like Aldis is saying, is you just tell the truth. You know, the fact is we are very strong as a community. We come from strength. And this is our Exodus story, you know. So all you have to do is tell the testimony, you know, of the fact that we were able to triumph over such tragedy. That in itself is so inspiring. We exist today because we come from people who were able to endure and survive. And so that in itself is something for us all to be so inspired, because that means in our DNA is strength. In our DNA, we have always been saying we matter. Okay, so that in itself, that's, I think, why our show is inherently so inspiring, because you are able to watch and say, dang, they survived that?
Yeah.
We went through that, and yet they still loved, they still laughed, they still fought for their families.
They had the strength to do so.
They had the strength. And all you gotta do is tell the truth.
Yeah.
And if that's not enough to get y'all to watch the second season, I hope you tune in tomorrow, 10 o'clock, WGN. Thank you so much, Aldis Hodge.
Thank y'all for coming out.
Jurnee Smollett-Bell.
Thank you.
Congratulations again on the new child. This is A. Will Build. We'll see you guys soon.
See you soon.
Thank you.